I want to share with you a vision that the Lord showed me that terrified me. I woke up terrified. And as a prophet, it's my duty to the body of Christ to bring the word of the Lord unto the end that we might be helped. So I was in a vision of the Lord. I saw the Lord God and his son, and honestly, I cannot describe his race. They appeared before me like humans, but since morning I've been trying to understand what race I can put this being. You can't, I don't even know whether it's white or black. I don't know, like there was no race, but you knew you were facing a being. And it will shock you that I can't even remember the face. Like now that I'm in the physical world, it looks as though anytime I think on them, it's just a blur I see standing there. What was happening in this vision? It was as though the whole earth was being judged. And according to what I was told in the vision, they had judged all the heavens. The first, the second, the third, and we were the seventh, the last one that is coming from up to down. All the heavens had been judged, down to man. And what I saw in that vision was as though we were all standing, and the earth looked like just a piece of field floating in space, because I didn't really see the sky. But in the vision, it was just me and somebody, like we are the last people to be judged in this vision. And then there's this person in front of me, because there's nobody talking to anybody. Everybody is thinking about themselves at that point. Now this man, I knew was a man. So this man in front of me was about to get judged, but he had an artifact with him. Now this artifact was shaped like a car. But when I say car, don't think of, modern cars. Just think of all those cars children draw, those boxy, yes. And it looked like, have you watched Transformers? That rusty kind of looking cars? Yeah, that's how the car looked like. And everybody had an artifact with them. Now, the scary thing about this vision was that this man's artifact began to speak. The voice that came out of that thing, everywhere began to shake. And then this being, just two of them, him, and I knew it was God and his son. You just know by the knower. They were not even talking to the men, they were talking to themselves. I say, yes, the artifact with him is the archangel type. It's as though everybody's artifact had a type. He was being judged. I couldn't hear what they were telling him, because just imagine you standing on the moon. That's the idea. So piece of land floating in space. I was afraid. You will not know that religion is only good for men. It's not good for spirits. I was standing there, and within seconds, they were done with him. I don't even know what happened to him. But all of a sudden, it was my turn. And all of a sudden, I see these artifacts with me. I don't know what to call it, but I knew it was something that was not too big, but it was in my hands. And the moment it became my turn, I started walking there. It's not something that you have an option to say, okay, let me know. You just start going. And the artifact with me began to sing. I've never heard a voice so deep and scary before. I never even knew I had that kind of thing with me. I can't describe what was coming out of this artifact. The depth of the voice and the weight the song was coming with as I was walking there. So when they heard my artifact sing it, they turned to themselves and said, oh, okay, he has the giant class. Giant? I'm not seeing anybody. But, he said, okay, his artifact, they didn't even pay attention to me. They were just talking among themselves. And within a split second, I ran through my whole life. Brethren, you will judge yourself what God judges you. I ran through my strength, my weakness, the good, the bad, the mistakes, the wins, everything, the efforts I put in religion. I was judging. And do you know the funny thing in that vision? The Most High made it in such a way that you are not judging works, you are judging intentions. That's what was happening to me in that vision. So everything I was thinking of, what was in my mind when I did this? That was what was happening to me in that vision. And then there was this thing. The only way I can describe this is to draw it, but I don't have any way to draw. There was this thing. It was just a square box, but it's as though, it loads. How will I describe this? It's as though it's load. You see it moving. Then, because I was asking myself mentally, is there no time remaining that one can quickly correct mistakes if he needs to correct mistakes? Then the response came. I don't know whether from the artifact, but I had it in my heart that no, there's no more time. After thinking of all my labors in the faith, do you know what I ultimately fell back on? The mercy of God. Sir, when you stand before judgment, your works are nothing. Because I knew this absolute being I was going to. One word from him determines my eternity. And in that vision, I was like a puppy dog. I was broken. Everything my whole being was crying for his mercy. Let me find mercy when I get there. Oh, I thought you were a prophet who operates in word of knowledge and you give accurate prophecy. Honestly, coming to church today, I didn't feel like preaching. I was on a group call with my friends and I was telling them. And it seems as though God is distributing visions this period. When I came out of that vision, in fact, it was already that I thought that, that was it. With how much I love my wife, I didn't even remember I was married in that vision. I did remember I had brothers, I had a sister. Is every man for himself. It was when I came back to earth, I remember that I'm in my house. I didn't remember anything. It was just me, my works, and this artifact that I was holding. So this is the psalmist ministry, everything that I have as ministry on earth. So it's an artifact in the spirit. Do you know what the Lord told me? He said the standard of judgment will be stewardship. How you stewarded your life, your choices, the faith, your gift, other people's lives and emotions. The standard of our judgment will be stewardship. When the Bible speaks of our works being judged, is our stewardship works that will be judged. Because everything given to us, even our lives, are entrustment. And do you know the criteria with which your stewardship and my stewardship will be judged? Is intent. So it means I can do a good deed with a selfish intent. And that'll be all I was thinking of. And I tell you something, I did remember I was a prophet. You get there and all of a sudden you discover that even the title you have, it is him working, not you. So now when you step there, title, he will retrieve that one. That one belongs to him. So you are standing there like another normal human being that was given a responsibility. I mean, I don't dream a lot, so when I dream, I take them serious. Because that's how God makes prophet experience the night, so that your dreams can be meaningful. I wasn't going to bed thinking of rapture, and when I closed my eyes, I stood before judgment. There was no throne they were sitting. They were only talking to themselves and evaluating. If I come, this one comes, they identify what his artifact is. And then while they are talking to themselves, you know, when a man creates a robot and is inspecting it, your ministry has a voice. This thing God has given you has a voice. It can rise and testify. It doesn't need you to speak. It will speak by itself. And all my years as a prophet, I didn't know that. I was only re-echoing a voice that was sent to partner with me. And it was called the Giantines. There are mysteries in the spirit. The Gregorians, the Watchers. One time I thought, this is not doctrinal. When I mean doctrine, it's not a doctrine, it's a revelation. I thought about how ministries are a reflection of a type of that same ministry in the angelic orders. So the prophets on earth reflect the watchers in heaven. Do you know that there are certain vessels on earth that reflects the ministry of the destroyers in heaven? So when the destroyers are to manifest on earth, you say, I don't want to go. You find the psalmist reflecting the cherubic ministry. He told Moses, according to what? The pattern, what? Shown to you in heaven. I know that there are debates about Christ coming. All I can tell you is that be prepared, because this is not the first time that predictions about the coming of Christ has come to a generation. In fact, if you see the way the apostles wrote, they wrote with an urgency that made the church believe that everything Jesus has said, even his coming, will be fulfilled in their generation. And what I drew from that is every Christian generation should live as though it's in their generation that Jesus will come, with that same urgency. And a lot of times when the Feast of Trumpet draws near, which is the 7th month, the first day of the month, and normally you begin to find a lot of these predictions around September, October especially. That's why you find most of this, the world is going to end predictions and Jesus is coming. Prophet, what do you think about this season? This season, honestly, is peculiar. I won't lie to you. They are friends that I have, amazing friends who are very, very serious prophets. We've not spoken, and then they are having similar revelations. Meanwhile, in the scientific world, there is a particular, I don't want to call it comet, but a particular unidentified object currently heading towards our solar system. Yes, 3i Atlas. And why the scientists are intrigued is because the way that particular unidentified object, you can do your research, I've not properly verified it, but the way that particular unidentified object is moving is different from anything they've observed before, because there is some form of intelligence to the movement. and it has passed many solar systems already. And apparently it should arrive our sun maybe sometime around the end of the month. And I've heard respected men that have come out to say the rapture should take place this year. First, some very respected men, my grandfather and the Lord, came out and say he's not giving anybody any time, but if the rapture doesn't take place this year, he'll be shocked. That you should go and do your research about. You see, when you take prophetic signs that speaks of the future generations out of your generation, you may begin to treat the Bible as a fairy tale book. Christians, we should be intelligent. If the prophets spoke of the future and you are in that future and you cannot relate with what they spoke of, it means they didn't see the future. But when I read the book of Revelations and I read certain things in the prophecy of Ezekiel, he's describing it as chariot. I'm saying this is a spaceship. He's describing it as grasshopper. I'm looking at this. This is actually a Black Hawk helicopter. You see, a lot of us have been trained to read the Bible like some fairy tale, book. Where does technology come from? From the earth or from the heavens? Do you believe that architecture is of the earth or is of the heavens? Now, a lot of people, when they think of heaven, I'm going to open up some things to you. When they think of heaven, they think of a fairy land. Everybody's just floating there, jobless, giving themselves apple. Take apple, you receive apple, and everyone is just singing. There's a vision that I saw, sir. And in that vision, I was told that the day the Lord will come, the earth will think it's an alien invasion. Have you not read scriptures? Why would the kings of the earth gather themselves to wage war against God if they know that this being is God supreme? It means there will be a generation that will be so misinformed about God that when the Lord begins to come with his host from Mount Paran, they will say, citizens of earth, you have to come together. Every nation, keep aside your differences. Let's come together to wage war against this alien threat. That's because a lot of people think when the Lord will begin to come with flaming chariots, it will be physical horses. Go and study what the kavod is, the heavy thing. That when it lands, there is smoke everywhere and fire. Have you not seen an Elon Musk this thing landing before? You say, I know now, you won't believe me because. Now, we're not saying God is not supernatural. God is all powerful, and every wisdom manifested on earth ultimately traces roots from God. For God's sake, God sat Moses down and was showing him architectural patterns from heaven. The temple that Moses built, where did he get the architectural plan? He only mirrored something that exists in heaven. You find angels in the book of Ezekiel measuring cubits, carrying measuring rods, and they were measuring. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this to get you to the point where you are able to see your generation in scriptures. Because I'm a prophet and I can tell you that a lot of things we see, there are no sufficient vocabularies to describe them. This vision I've just told you now, the problem I have now is that everyone will have a mental picture of what they think I'm talking about. But since they didn't see what I'm talking about, ultimately every mental version of what you think I'm talking about will only be a watered down version. That's why as much as the prophets in scriptures tried their best to describe all they were seeing, you are only interacting with a watered down version of what they truly saw. So they will liken it to this. They may see helicopters and the way the tail of the helicopter is and say that its tail is like a scorpion, because that's the only thing they have in their generation. Someone was asking me when I was doing evangelism via one of these white kids. He was like, bro, I'm struggling to believe the Bible because, a lot of things they talk about there is too difficult to believe. How would they say a human being lived 900 and something years? We don't know how they calculated. So, and I told him something. I said, with the technology you have today, if you were to go back in time and describe these technologies to those people, would they believe that those things you are talking about is possible? They will say it's impossible. You want to take an iPad and now go to the land of Israel when David was the king. This thing you are holding would be a miracle in the eyes. Indescribable. You want to talk about Wi-Fi, internet, airplanes, all these amazing inventions we have today. How can you describe it to ancient Mesopotamia? Thousands of years. And these prophets, they saw into the future. and they tried their best. Many things they did not know.